Hi, everyone. Welcome once again to the Scrappy Cinema Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Ritchie, and with me today is Emmy winning director Billy Miossi. And I'm excited to have him on the show. He most recently had the short The Mole Man, which was making the rounds on the festivals. But we're really going to talk today about one of his earlier shorts that ended up getting distributed by The New Yorker, and one you can watch right here on YouTube, or if you're on our website, you can watch below. Billy Miossi, welcome to the Scrappy Cinema Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Ryan.
So let's get started. Since we're going to talk mainly about Goldie, why don't you give us your quick pitch for what Goldie is all about?
So Goldie is about a guy here in Cincinnati where I live. His name is Tim Goldrainer, and he, since 1983, has been the frontman for a band called the Menus. And they're a cover band that is well known, especially Tim, for his onstage antics. A lot of costume changes and he's quite a character. And his balloon kicks, he puts up these balloons on stage and he'll kick them during the show. He's just a very terrific entertainer, very charismatic guy. And Goldie is about, he also, in addition to this rock and roll persona, he performs at nursing homes all over the Cincinnati region, and he brings that same energy to these nursing homes, and it's just really beautiful to watch. How he interacts with the residents of these places, and I love that dichotomy. This rocker Tim, and then Tim in these nursing homes. Yeah, that's what Goldie's about.
And how did you find out about Goldie?
So I knew about Tim shortly after I moved here. I moved here in 2016, and my wife is from here, and her family, knew of the Menus, and I'd hear about Tim and like their shows and how entertaining they were. And so the first time there was a festival not far from my house, and the Menus were performing, and so I got to see Tim perform for the first time, and it was wild. The show that he puts on is just, he goes 100 miles an hour. It's just crazy energy that he can put into a show, and it was great. I loved it, and then I soon after that learned that he also played at these nursing homes, which I thought was, that same guy doing this stuff on stage at this festival was also performing in nursing homes. So that immediately interested me. And then turns out he's my neighbor. He lives right behind me, which we discovered when I first reached out to him. And he just walked through my backyard to meet me at my house. So, yeah, took off from there.
And you live in a very interesting neighborhood because the Mole Man also is nearby, right?
Yeah, the Mole Man is Tom Schmidt lives 5 minutes from me too. So both of these short films are people who live very close to me, which is nice and convenient.
So with Goldie, you had to build trust, obviously, and have him be comfortable with you filming, but you also had to have that comfort with a lot of the facilities you were going into. And I'm curious how you managed that and how you sort of won people over, or at least
Yeah.
they didn't get all nervous that you're showing up with a camera.
Yeah, that's always a hard thing. People typically shy away from cameras, but yeah, to start, I just built a really strong relationship with Tim, and Tim's just this super outgoing personality. And the first time I met him, he came to my home office, and we just sat and talked for a long time, and it felt like right away we were longtime close friends, and so it was easy to build a great relationship with him. And then all these facilities that he goes to perform, I mean, they love him, and these residents really look forward to him coming. And so it was a matter of having Tim sort of vouch for me. And when we were asking for permission to come film there, and it was pretty readily given. They were very open to it and excited that we were there, and sort of profiling Tim and all he does for these people. So that turned out not to be a big issue, so that it worked out. Residents who would not want to be on camera, and we would just, steer clear. But for the most part, they were happy to be a part of it.
And Was there a lot of pre-planning with this documentary, or did you just sort of want to see where it headed, where it went?
Yeah, I think that's typically how I work. I just sort of improvise and see where it goes. And that was certainly the case with Goldie. I was just like, let's line up a couple of your nursing home performances and see how it goes. And that's just what we did. It wasn't, you know, a ton of pre-planning and all that. We showed up with our cameras, and Tim is just, he's a ready-made character. He's ready to go. Like there's not like, he's not shy. He is a performer, and whether he's on camera or on stage or off stage, I mean, he's just so that made it easy too. He was very easy to work with and film with, and so yeah, we just went with it, went with the flow, and it worked out.
Talk a little bit about the technical side of the shooting, as far as the size of your crew and how many cameras and how you approached shooting, especially in the facilities with Tim.
So it was just me and my cinematographer, and that's it. Just the two of us. Um, the cinematographer is a good friend too, who I've worked with on multiple different projects, including The Mole Man. And yeah, we just kept it light. I like to keep a pretty, low profile, especially in these nursing homes. I didn't, want a big crew there, so it was just me and Gary, and one camera, and it was pretty bare bones. That's typically how I like to work.
When we're talking about doing these projects, people are always interested in funding and how it came about and that sort of thing. Maybe I know you have sort of a unique arrangement with your day job, so to speak, that allows you to do this, right?
Yeah, so I started this just on my own. I it was initially really started because I wanted to really dive in and teach myself how to edit, because I edited this film as well. It was the first film that I edited, and Gary, my cinematographer, who's a good friend, I knew he would help me out. Um, and he's got all the equipment. He's got a red cinema camera, and all the stuff you need to make a documentary, which is nice. So yeah, it just started like that, and then when I got to post production, um, the company I work for, Weigel Productions, came on board to help produce the film and help with the post production, which was terrific. And I got to work too with some of the motion design team at Weigel, who I've worked with for over a decade, and so they came on board too to help finish the film. And yeah, so that was a nice benefit, and worked out.
And you had previously worked on a feature documentary for Weigel, correct?
Yes, I done two features with Weigel. It's Quiet in the Twilight, which is about the Voyager flight team piloting the two Voyager spacecraft through interstellar space, and then Who in the Hell is Regina Jones? It's about Regina Jones, the founder of Soul newspaper.
So jumping back to Goldie, how long was your shoot? How long did it take you to capture everything you needed? And when did you know, okay, that's it, I have enough to put together my story?
Yeah, so I trying to think back. Started filming with him in the fall of 2019. Um, so not long before COVID, which
Hmm.
created a break, especially in these nursing homes. But the good thing is, actually, we filmed all the nursing home shoots before COVID. Otherwise, yeah, that would have it wouldn't we probably wouldn't have the film. Um, so, but then after that, yeah, I did some extra filming with Tim. So it was about a year of filming, not like constantly. It was very off and on. And then I edited it off and on for about a year and a half. I sort of had that luxury where I didn't really have a deadline. This was a personal project, just a passion project, and so I was able to really take my time editing it. And there was a lot of you know stripping it all away and starting over again, until I finally felt like I got it right. So yeah, it was a fairly long process for a short film.
And once you had the film completed, eventually it ends up with distribution from the New Yorker.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about that journey from when you finished the film to how it ultimately ended up with them.
So it world premiered at the Cleveland International Film Festival. That was in 2023, and um, not long after that, the New Yorker reached out and saying they, be interested in it, and which was a huge surprise for me, a very happy surprise. Um, to wind up on a platform like that is really cool and exciting. And so from there, yeah, I sent them the film, and they loved it and said they wanted to put it, make it a part of their documentary series, which was, uh, yeah, just couldn't have asked for a better home for Goldie, and so that's still where it is.
And did you think, oh, it must be this easy every time with
Yeah,
shorts?
that was my first short, and it was like, oh, it seems so immediate, and that as I found out with the Mole Man, that is not the case, um, with every film. But yeah, it's I was fortunate for Goldie. It was really exciting and happy for Tim. That his story could have that kind of reach. Yeah, it was cool.
So with both of these shorts, you have really strong leading characters. Really, I mean, these in both cases, enough character to drive the documentary. You don't have to, like you said, you don't have to worry. Tim was a character through and through. I'm wondering, is that sort of something you look for when you're thinking about starting a project? Did you luck into that? How do you sort of assess, is this going to work as a documentary?
Yeah, I think it was easier with Goldie because I knew for sure that Tim is just a character. You put a camera on him, he's just terrific. He's got that energy, and so I knew if I just put a camera on him, I could probably come up with something great. And with the Mole Man, it was I knew he was a great character, but it started. I think what drew me to him was just his profession. It was so this man who dedicated his you know the last 4 decades to mole trapping and only mole trapping. Doesn't do any other animals, no other insects or pest control, just moles, and then the detailed records that he keeps, and how he became an authority on mole behavior just by becoming obsessed with this animal. And But yeah, he's a great character as well. So yeah, I love these human stories. I love telling stories about people and doing these sort of character studies. That's what I'm drawn to.
One question I'm going to start asking everyone going forward, so you're the first one. Speaking of learning, what is something you learned working on Goldie that has been or will be helpful in future projects?
Hmm. I think my biggest learning experience on that film was the editing side. Like I said, that's where I really taught myself how to edit. And I went through so many rough cuts, and I think the biggest thing I learned was really to lean on friends and colleagues, and lean on their feedback. And the amount of times I would bug friends to watch a cut or send me feedback. You know, so it's so important because you spend so much time just by yourself staring at that screen and living in what you think the story is or should be, but to get that feedback is so essential and important. And it's something I have certainly done moving forward. I did it a million times on the Mole Man. um, and Yeah, that's probably my biggest learning experience.
I absolutely agree because I think especially for those of us who maybe are not based in LA or New York, it can be even more isolating when you're working on a project. So any chance you have to bring someone in to collaborate or to share
Yeah,
the project as you're working on it, I think is really helpful.
yeah.
You'd mentioned that you learned about editing with Goldie. I'm wondering if you think that in any way affected sort of when you were shooting projects after that, whether you were thinking more about with the edit in mind at all.
No, I don't think so. I'm also the type of person who like I won't edit like during shooting. I'm not I like I like to wait until I feel like everything is finished shooting, and then I like to go in and edit. Which I don't know if that's the best way to go about it, because if you are editing while you're shooting, then you can be like, oh, next time I go shoot, I can, focus on this or that. But the good thing with Goldie and Mole Man is they live right down the street from me. So when I was editing and I was like, oh, I need these pickups, I would just either go through my backyard to Tim's, or with the Mole Man just, yeah, down the street. So, but no, I don't think it didn't change how I've approached any of these projects moving forward. But it is, I do enjoy editing, having that control. On these short films, on the features, I do like working with an editor, as opposed to me editing the features and dealing with all that media, and it's a little more complicated, I think.
It's interesting because we're so often sort of trying to be Swiss Army knives and knowing every aspect of production. And sometimes that can backfire. I know for me, I went a little too far down the road of learning about motion graphics. And so I found myself sort of not asking for what I might normally ask for because I knew how complicated it was to do. Whereas
Yeah,
before, I was sort of more innocent about it. And, well, can we make those stars do this and that?
yeah,
So it's good to know a little bit, but not too much about the things that aren't the core of what you do. That's my thought.
yeah. Because the graphics team I've worked with it on every project. Again, it's the team from Weigel that I've been with for over a decade. They're so good, and they didn't do as much. Goldie doesn't use as much motion design, but the Mole Man has a ton. And I love to. I have a hard time articulating exactly what I want in terms of motion graphics, but I know them so well that I can give them a very broad idea and just like, here, like, come back, let me see what you come up with, and then we work from there. They'll send me stuff, and then it's a really strong collaboration, as opposed to me trying to type out, I want this at this moment, and because that never comes across clearly, and it never works out well. But yeah, that's another fortunate thing, is having that team that I know them so well, and they know me so well, as far as what I like and styles and everything.
And I know you have something else you're working on. I don't know. Can you tell us anything about that yet?
Um, well, I have another short that's in post production now, another Cincinnati character. I guess I'll leave it at that for now. And then filming another feature, that I probably can't say much about at the moment, or anything about at the moment. But that's filming, and it's a film I'm so excited about. It's been so fun to film, and not to yeah. I unfortunately I can't say more than that, but I'm excited about both of these projects.
Well, I'm excited to see them too, especially based on what we've already seen from you on both your shorts and both of your features. So it's really exciting. I appreciate you sharing some of your insight in the process of going from just some quirky character in the neighborhood
Yeah, yeah,
into one and actually two shorts that really highlight some real characters in the Cincinnati area. And by the way, are relatable wherever you live. It really has very little to do
right.
with where they are. So I think you've done a great job of making these films that are accessible to anyone and highly entertaining. And you might have a few tears during Goldie, just to put that out there, or the Mole Man for that matter. But they're great shorts, and I look forward to what you have coming up next. So, Billy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Ryan. It was a pleasure.
Once again, my guest today has been documentary filmmaker Billy Miossi, and you can see his short Goldie either on YouTube, or if you're watching this on our website, scrappycinema.com, it's in the video right below this. So thanks for watching, everyone, and until next time, stay scrappy.